back with another Sub CLE. We haven't done one of these in a while. I'm excited to say we got Jon Vinson here. He's played drums with bands like Keratoma, Forged in Flame, Axioma, who is no stranger to this podcast, and he's currently playing with Frayle. If you kind of follow us at all, there's a playlist on the Sub CLE with the Rust Belt Reaction. Trip and I actually watched their song Bright Eyes, and we liked it. So now here it is. Jon, how you doing?
What's up, man? So good to see you.
What was it like that got you into playing drums? I don't know. At what age and what was it? Was it a certain song or what?
Oh, yeah. So it actually all started out on guitar. Yeah, I had originally grown up, like the first heavy thing was just Guns N' Roses, obviously. Right. Like right at that perfect age when Appetite came out.
Yeah.
And rocked out to that a lot.
One of the best albums ever made.
100%. 100%. Just unique and like production-wise too.
Yeah,
Still holds up,
yeah.
You know?
Still, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
So then, got into the heavier stuff, Metallica, went through like the grunge thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so when I was 10, my parents were like, you can play any instrument you like. And I'm like, I want to play drums.
You didn't say like the flugelhorn or whatever?
After long consideration.
Okay, so the drums or the guitar.
The guitar, yeah. So basically they were like, no, drums, too loud, too expensive,
right.
Not happening. So after a couple months of, trying to nag them, didn't work. I settled on guitar, and that was like my personality, basically getting into music was doing that.
Okay.
So
and the first guitar was it
was a cheap beginner guitar. It was this company called Harmony.
I think everyone knows Harmony. Yeah. Well, at least our age, at least. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, now the younger generation would be like Epiphones or whatever.
Right, yeah.
So, it had that with like an amp with no distortion. Yeah, the first time I heard a distortion pedal, I was like, I could not believe. I'm like, this is the heaviest thing ever. Like,
right. Do you remember which distortion pedal it was?
So actually, no. It was. It would have been an amp.
That just had this built-in distortion.
Yeah, the
overdrive.
The guy who the place I took guitar lessons at when I was younger, he was showing me a few amps, and that was back when just even buying one guitar, we could barely afford that. So it was hearing the distortion, I was just like, oh my God, I want this, and of course never had it. I actually don't think I ever owned a distortion pedal. It was like 2 or 3 years later, my parents finally bought an amp with distortion, a crate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to play those Metallica songs without distortion,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was the style, like growing up, just like playing along to these, Metallica, Megadeth with no distortion, like.
Okay. So you got into you were playing guitar. Were you were playing with a band at that time then?
Yeah, so I started around 10, and then when I was in high school, a couple guys, we did like a couple bands that just did like talent shows and stuff, and then we formed a punk band called SDWB.
Okay.
Actually, the one guitarist, they had a different guitarist, and he left, so I was kind of like, they were a punk band, I was a metal kid, and they were like, well, you're the only other kid in the school who plays guitar, so you're in.
Close enough, right?
Yeah. So played with them for a while, but so I probably was like 14, and then when I was 16 was when I switched to drums.
Okay.
I got a job and just saved up all my money and came home with the drum set like, Mom, Dad, drummer now,
Boy. So what kind of drum set was it?
So that was a Pearl Export.
Okay.
I bought it from this old shop called Percussion Specialties over on Warren Road in Cleveland. I'm older,
Yeah.
People our generation would know them, whatever. But so I brought that, and like it had these like cheap Sabian cymbals on it, and it was like your basic beginner set.
Okay.
And that was the start. So like I was kind of learning that as I was still playing guitar in the punk band.
Okay.
And then I want to say probably when I was like 18 or so, I started hooking up with Andy Hoffman. I don't know if you from Above This Fire.
Okay.
They had this like band back in the day. We were called like I forget what their old band was called, but we were called 60 Victims.
Okay.
And it was 2000. Like,
wait, why 60?
I think they took it from some headline in the Plain Dealer.
Okay.
It was it was like that or December Bomb Plot, and we're like, I guess putting December Bomb Plot on flyers around the city isn't a good idea.
No, well, that's how you think when you're a kid. You're trying to be as like, I don't even want to say some of the names we were coming up with when we were kids.
Yeah.
It's like so, especially now in the climate that we're at with the, it's just, I'm like, I think of these things. I'm like, we were just idiots. Like, you knew it was offensive, but you didn't understand why. I guess,
exactly.
Whatever. I don't know, but yeah. All right. So,
or you just assumed that everyone else in the world was as weird and as fucked up as you are.
Right. Yeah. So okay, so that was the first thing you were playing drums in then.
Yeah. So that was kind of like a rap metal, like
circa like 2000 or something.
Yeah, like they were big into like
all that new metal
Limp
stuff.
Bizkit, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
The rapping, screaming, whatever.
Yeah. So
that was pretty short lived. I ended up hooking up with a band called Forever Untouched, which that one I was like a bit more serious about.
Yeah.
We just played with some really talented musicians in that band
cool.
that have gone on to do, they're not like famous people or anything, but they've,
on this podcast, they're probably like legends.
That's true.
Who would they be?
Cole Martinez, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's,
even if I know these people, I'm going to act like I don't.
Okay. So good call. Yeah.
So
I forget that there's other people watching.
Yeah,
this
right. I want to hear. Yeah.
So my buddy Cole, he played with. We did a band called Jesus Egg together, which was we were kind of doing that around the same time. So my band Forever Untouched was a bit more. We were like Meshuggah, like a lot of Meshuggah influence. We were really into Cryptopsy, just like heavier technical kind of metal, a little bit of Fear Factory sound kind of.
Okay. And at this time, you guys were practicing, because I think I remember this, you guys were over at Rock and Roll City Studios at this time, right?
Yeah. That was the place to be. And that was right when, that was around the time that like Chimera was first starting to hit, when they were doing Farm Club before they like even put out their first record.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were doing that band. And so Cole ran a studio called Conquistador Studios, and he recorded a lot of local stuff that Above This Fire band that I used to play with some of those guys.
Okay.
Band from Pittsburgh or from Pennsylvania called From a Second Story Window.
Okay.
I forget what label.
Where was that studio at?
He had it a few spots. He first started it in his basement. We recorded our Forever Untouched stuff with him in his basement.
Okay.
And then he had a spot over in North Olmsted, like kind of like near City Hall.
West Side stuff.
Yeah. But it was he recorded like, and he was one of those guys. He'd just show up to practice and be like, "Here's 5 new songs," the guy just like bled good ideas.
That's cool.
And then another guy, Tony Howard, who he plays in a local cover band called Tricky Dick and the Cover Ups.
Okay.
He's a bass player, singer, just super talented, and he actually runs. Me being I'm an educator, a music educator of sorts, I guess. He is as well, and he does that through. They have like a electric orchestra out in Lakewood High School, and so he's like one of the musical directors with that. So it's just like, it's cool to see people you're playing with super young that end up, still doing it this much longer.
Yeah. So that brings me to a question. So at this time, are you taking drum lessons?
No. I played for like 6 months. I was really a big fan of Gene Hoglan at that time, who's any drummer knows who he is.
Right.
He's like played with everybody. And Gene is a self-taught drummer. And so I was convinced like, nope, I'm going to be the self-taught guy.
Right.
That lasted about 6 months. And so actually Jim Prokop hooked me up with my first drum teacher.
Some of the people, if you've seen this podcast at all, you're no stranger to Jim Prokop and his pierogies.
Oh, yeah.
But we did like a little pierogi episode where he's
really?
Yeah.
Why was I not invited?
Well, you will be next time. We're going to do pierogi too.
But no, so he hooked me up with this teacher, and her name was Olivia, and she took up drumming as an interest like in her early 20s and just really excelled. And so we just connected on a level that it was I don't everyone's had that really influential teacher. Like
Sure.
She was one of those.
Well, I don't know if everyone has, but I think we can all relate to somebody, being,
Yeah, exactly. One of those
influential
people,
in our lives,
Yeah, I would walk in and I'd be like, what are we doing today? And she's like, oh, we're going to do this. And I'm like, I can't do that. What do you mean? And she would just find another way to reframe it, and I would get it right away.
That's cool.
So like, I studied with her, and then one day she was just gone. Like she had just up and moved to New York, and ever since then she's been like gigging. She's been, I think she's somewhere in Eastern Europe right now.
Really?
Yeah. So she's been obviously educating as well. She's super passionate about that, but a great performer. So I always struggled. I studied with a couple other teachers, but I never really stuck with it because I was still trying to find that connection of someone like that could, get me moving that quick. And I just never found that. So yeah, mostly just a lot of that time was Cole and Forever Untouched. He would program out crazy drum parts.
Yeah.
And I would try to learn them. And that was my drum lessons for that amount of time.
Okay, that kind of makes sense because the way you play, I mean, it almost sounds like and some of the stuff I've heard, it almost sounds like a drum machine, I mean,
totally.
Just that precision.
Yeah, rigid and kind of cold. I was kind of into that, more technical kind of aspect. And then, that's one of the big things in the drumming world is like the rigid technical cold thing versus the more organic groove based thing. It took me a while to get into that other side.
Okay. Well, which we will get into because that's coming up. So so you were in you're playing with Forever in Touch. Did we go through all the band members that were in there?
So the other two, my good friend Doug French, one of my best friends of all time. He got pretty heavy into photography just as a hobby. Yeah. And so all the awesome Axioma shots on Instagram, that's all Doug. Right. And he's just amazing.
That's cool.
And then the other guitar player, Cliff, he actually, I haven't talked to him in forever, but last I knew he was managing a Burger King, and then he got a degree, and I don't know what happened after that. Oh, really? Okay. So, yeah. But he's like married, has kids, just went that route in his life.
So is that what happened with that? It kind of ran its course. Everyone kind of said, hey, I got to go make money somewhere or something. And
so actually that band...
I love how I just like to make up the end of your story. But.
That's what happened. The end. All right, see ya. No, so that band fizzled out because at that point I was starting to get I'd been going to community college for a little while, and I just, I thought maybe I want to do videography, graphic design. Cool. And then I decided, no, I'm going to go to music school. So that's when I enrolled out in Musicians Institute in Hollywood. Okay. So that's what kind of ended the Forever Untouched thing. I was like, hey guys, I'm moving out to California. I'm doing the music school thing. Okay. And so I was out there for 2 years. It was kind of just like an ITT tech music school, get your degree in 2 years. I have an associate's degree. And
so one of those things that you can probably get forgiveness on your loan right now for one of those schools that for profit schools or whatever they say.
Well, that was one of the things that drew me to that school, because I was looking at, I think I was not at the level where I would have been qualified, but I was looking at Berkeley and thinking maybe I'd go there. And that's, the cost of 1 year at Berkeley was the whole program at Musicians Institute. It was like a no-brainer.
So even if you live in California, because I thought if you lived in California, it's they cover a lot of the costs. I don't know. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about now.
Yeah, but I know they did have and the way schools are set up, they were like a typical school where if you're in the area, it's cheaper. Right. And then they did have, I think they had extra perks, but I was coming from way far, not as far as some other people. We had, people from all over the world at that school. It was awesome.
So, so that's interesting. So, I mean, that's actually a really good experience. I mean, it's kind of like Rock and Roll City Studios, I always said was kind of like heavy, music college, because you're getting to mingle with all these other musicians. And I think that's one of the coolest things about that is, you can just meet all these different musicians, You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Rock and Roll City too. It's just like kind of like, you know, I remember moving out of there and just feeling like disconnected, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I agree 100%. There's so many connections that I had at rock and roll just from, I mean, I don't know, like Billy.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, I'm trying to get Billy on this thing, so hopefully that'll happen soon.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That was one of the things we were talking about, but yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, just random people where it's you see them walking down the hall, and then it's like, hey, you want to jam? Like, let's do some shit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was just a really cool experience. You know, being out in that part of the world, you know, like where basically, I mean, I know Hollywood is more known for like the cinema aspect, but there's you know, there's a small
the music scene is pretty big out there too, you know. I mean,
yeah, and that's like as far as maybe Nashville might be
now,
a second close, but
right?
like,
yeah, now most Nashville's like the capital.
Yeah, like they always had, you know, their session guys out there, but a lot of the really good session players were in LA at the time. So you know, we'd have awesome drummers. Ray Luzier from Korn. Came in, he would come in just randomly into my lessons sometimes because he was friends with my teacher.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, you just always had the best talent, like coming through and giving clinics and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was awesome.
That is cool. Like, how long were you out there for?
So I was there for 2 years, and you know, did a couple bands. I played with a band called The Cauterized out there, which was like an old, like late '80s death metal kind of sound.
Okay.
And then I played with another band called Throwaway Heroes, which was a bunch. Actually, everyone was from Sweden except for me. And
hey, but you look like you are.
Yeah, yeah, I fit right in.
Yeah, right.
But they were, you know, like Guns N' Roses Helicopter style. So that's when I started to expand a little bit. You know, that put me a little bit out of my comfort zone where I was doing, you know, taking classes in like funk drumming, jazz, Latin, just you name it.
Yeah.
So, but those were the two main projects I did out there. Oh, no. I did play for a minute with the Faceless.
Okay.
Which they are actually like in the tech death circles. They're they've been pretty successful. Their guitarist, Michael Keane, like super talented dude.
Yeah.
So I played with like a super early version of that.
That's
but
cool.
I was like 23 and they were all like, I think he was 17 at the time.
Oh, really?
And they're like, oh yeah, we got this show. We want to play this. And it was like a high school rock off thing.
Sure.
And I was kind of like, I don't know about this. And then he's like, you know, goes off and does this awesome thing. I mean, they've toured all over, you know.
That's cool.
Pretty awesome. But yeah, so that's mostly what I did out there and then came right back home after.
Okay, so once you graduated, you decided to come back home. And then, were you looking for something right away? Did you know somebody? What happened when you came back?
So that's when I wasn't totally certain what I wanted to do when I got back home, but I knew that like the LA thing was just, it's hyper competitive out there, and that's not, I'm more of an internally competitive person. So I ended up coming back home, not totally sure what I wanted to do, but was thinking, you know, I could do cover bands, I could do teaching and that kind of thing. So I tried to put my weight into finding the teaching thing. And I was working with Jason Notek, who is in Frayle with me now.
Okay.
We were in another band that was like industrial goth kind of called In Winter.
Okay.
And we did that for a little bit. It was, you know, local shows. I think we, you know, hit like the, you know, Rust Belt area.
Yeah.
That's it. And that kind of fizzled out to where that's when I started doing Forged in Flame, and Keratoma was around that time.
Okay. Tell me about Forged in Flame.
So Forged in Flame was kind of like doomy stoner metal kind of band. We went through a few different iterations, but we had Gary Kane on vocals. Have you had him on?
Well, you know, I asked him, and Gary, if you're watching this, come on, man, do it. Come on. No, but he says he's in a different place right now. He's focused on other things. So
okay, yeah, that's I respect that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was him. Actually, my former roommate, when I was going out to MI in Hollywood,
Yeah.
Jay Bonnell was
Yeah.
my roommate, and so he was in the band, and then we had Jason Clark
Okay.
on bass, who I don't know what he's doing now, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, super talented dude as well. Like,
Yeah.
love that dude. But yeah, we did that, and then so when he left the band, then Cougar joined,
Okay.
and man, we had so many people in that band. I want to say around 2011 was we ended up going out with Corpaclani and doing that one tour.
Yeah, I'd like to hear some stories about that. So how was that? Because I remember talking to Cougar about that, and Cougar was, he had come from France, and he was all in it. He wanted to be a musician, and then when you guys were, I think you guys were already talking about having that tour when he was talking about joining up with you guys, I believe. I don't know. I could have this wrong, but I know that he was pretty stoked about that. That was a pretty cool tour. I kind of followed you guys like on the social media thing, that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Oh, that tour was a great time.
Yeah.
The guys in Corpaclani they're just super fun.
And if nobody knows Corpaclani, go ahead and describe those guys. Yeah.
So Corpaclani is like polka metal, basically.
Yeah.
There's like a fiddle player, accordion.
Yeah. But they're from like what, Finland or something, or
I think Finland.
Yeah.
And then we played with a band called Arkona from Russia.
Okay.
And they're like folk black doom metal. I don't know.
Okay.
Really cool, but could not talk to them literally. I think
right. Language barrier.
One of them spoke English a little bit. So that was really like the band. Would have loved to have socialized,
Yeah.
But we get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a super positive experience, and we were a bit younger and willing to put up with a little bit more that probably now I wouldn't put up with.
No, like what? Like
showing up, like, what's up? We're Forge and Flame. We don't got a place to stay tonight. Come catch up with us after the show. Like, that kind of stuff nowadays. I'm like, nah, I kind of want to sleep in the bed. Like,
yeah, right, yeah.
So, but I've been spoiled with some of the touring that I've gotten to do since then, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so doing that at that time, just like super positive experience. Like, met so many cool people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could talk about any single one of the shows.
Yeah.
One of the best ones, I don't know if Cougar brought it up, but we played at a place called Imperial Theater in Quebec City.
Okay.
And that's just like the French-speaking part of Canada.
Okay.
And
Cougar was like showing you guys around, and
oh yeah. And that's the thing. We're like, Cougar, you speak French, like talk to the crowd. So we don't know what he was saying, but he got on the mic, and I mean, this was a sold-out crowd, and they went fucking ape shit,
right. Well, just the fact that he speaks French, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So, we did that. Another one that was really cool was playing up in Edmonton. We just the the bar staff there, they like loved us.
Yeah.
And at the time, we were selling these jerseys that they said Cleveland 13.
Yeah.
And so we're walking around the venue, and like all these servers are wearing like Cleveland shirts in like the northernmost city of Canada. Like,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, so what was it with the Cleveland thing? Was that just like the closest U.S. city to them? That I don't know.
They just loved our band. So like, it was like it had the Forge and Flame. They were like literal. I don't know how I would describe. It almost looks like a ringer, but like a V-neck.
Okay.
And then it has the like the big stripes on the sleeves. They were like these weird. We were doing all kinds of weird merch designs. I mean, you've seen Gary's merch, like.
Oh yeah, dude, he's amazing.
He always had just like super creative, awesome ideas, and they actually kind of helped float the band for a long time.
Yeah.
But so just had like the Forge and Flame logo on the front, and on the back it said Cleveland 13.
I see. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So okay. So cool. So all right. So you're in Forge and Flame. It's going well. Sounding great. I honestly, like, I would play that music for people that like didn't even kind of care for that kind of music, and they liked it. I was like, wow, this is like a band from Cleveland that I can see actually like doing something outside of Cleveland. What the fuck happened, man?
We just had a so I would say the one thing that kind of just demoralized the band itself was we were that Corporate Kalani tour was so awesome, and our manager was supposed to he was getting us on this other tour called Shockwave Fest, I believe.
Okay.
And so it was a stacked lineup. It was I forget who the headliner was, but like I think Voivod was on it, and like Fear Factory.
That's sweet.
And it was going to be this touring package that we were going to be on, and we were going to be the openers. But it's still like, you know, got to start somewhere,
right? Yeah.
And the whole thing got canceled.
Oh shit!
It just
it just
like the fest itself just, and it was, I want to say it was probably like 30 days. It wasn't like, you know,
that's a lot. That's a lot, man.
Yeah. But anyways, that one like fizzled out, and that just kind of, we were trying to write a new record at the time, and like just trying to get that done. I think we recorded that record twice. We rewrote it once. We recorded it 3 times. Like, I mean, it was just ridiculous. I have so many old recordings of that I would love to, you know, just do something with, but it's half finished, you know?
Right. No, and it's, you know, that's the whole thing about like writing a song, you know, it's like, you got to just kind of, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say I know anything about anything, but just feels like I could write a song and just never be done with it.
It is. You know? But the saying, like, it's never completed, it's abandoned.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think, you know, it just, that's the thing with songs. It's like, it just gets to a point where it's like, okay, this is the way it is. And then you just, hey, write another song. It might sound similar to it, but it'll be a progression in some way. You know what I mean? I don't know. Okay. So yeah, I don't want to get into, you know, I'm not looking for any kind of dirt or anything, but so, okay. So you got like Forged in Flame, that kind of like, you know,
it's kind of like, it's kind of fizzling out a little bit. So, Cougar started writing some other stuff.
Right.
And, that was another kind of slow going, you know, just getting things moving.
Yeah.
We had, I don't remember, tried out a few guys, but it basically was like an early form of Axioma.
Right.
That eventually became what it was. We recorded the first EP actually directly underneath, or
it's a few feet that way, but yeah, it's underneath there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we did that first EP here, and so that was kind of what the focus became for me. And, you know, it was, that one was kind of fun because it took me back a little bit more to the more technical kind of, you know, the Forge and Flame was definitely more groove based, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah,
think like Red Fang, you know, that style drumming.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely like stoner rock kind of stuff, you know. Yeah, for sure.
So Axioma got me, you know, back to like doing a little bit more technical, you know, left of center kind of.
Yeah, and it seemed to be something more like what you guys were kind of like into. You know, it just seemed like, you know, that real like it's almost like ambient death metal. Like I don't know. It's so hard to say, but there was definitely an ambiance being created with these extremely fast kind of like death blast kind of things.
Yeah. You know, I think it's interesting, you know, befriending Cougar, like just how some guy from the other part of the world, it's like, oh no, we're both obsessed with like the same Morbid Angel record and the same Neurosis records, you know, like and so that kind of, that's how that thing kind of grew. And so you know, I was doing that. I actually I didn't even mention the Keratoma thing actually.
Oh yeah, we totally skipped over that one.
Which was kind of going concurrently with the why am I blanking right now? With the Forge and Flame thing.
Okay.
So
so I thought Keratoma was kind of before Forge and Flame, but no, you were doing that at about the same time?
It was about the same. So there was a lot of overlap. Like I was doing In Winter and then Keratoma.
Yeah. And
then left In Winter and then joined Forge, but was still doing Keratoma at the same time.
Okay, so tell me about Keratoma then.
Keratoma's just I mean, I'm just horribly biased. Like every band I play with, I'm like, oh yeah, they're the greatest dudes ever.
Right,
you know?
Sure, yeah.
But you know, another just awesome bunch of dudes. Two of which Tom Schaffner
Yep.
and Steve Rockhorst.
Tom Schaffner was on here. Yeah.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that dude.
Yeah.
So it was him and Steve. They're both, they were both in Mushroom Head.
Sure.
So
I believe Steve is still in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then I still see Steve. I do the old school the cover band that he does. It's like 80s, 90s hip hop.
Okay.
Oh my God, that band is so much fun.
Yeah.
But so I play with him every once in a while in that project too. But so that was like kind of heavy industrial, ministry style. And so
cool.
wrote that out for a while. I mean, that's just one thing I wanted to mention and put out there for anyone who's like, oh, why didn't he bring that up?
Yeah.
But so where were we with the Axioma thing?
Yeah.
I was doing that, and then did a little bit of work with a band from Detroit called Child Bite.
Okay.
Did a couple tours with them, and that was super cool. We went out with a band called Black Tusk for a couple weeks and did like a East Coast tour, and then I feel like we did one other one, and then we had another one that was. So this is getting kind of fairly recent, like within the past probably like 2 years.
Yeah.
We opened for Guar in Pontiac, Michigan.
Okay.
And
this was with
Child Bite.
Child Bite. Okay.
So what had happened was we had booked this tour, and it was a show with Guar in Michigan. We had like a couple days off, and then we're going to go do like a week-long thing. And in those couple days off, the guitarist got coronavirus. And so we tried to fly someone up and like learn the songs, and that didn't work out. So like that whole one got canceled.
Oh boy.
But it was one of those ones where like the vibes were super cool, like, opening for Guar, and it was like Guar, Napalm Death, and I Hate God.
Oh,
and
nice.
it was like right as things were opening up after COVID. And, it was just packed, and then awesome show, and then you guys aren't doing anything.
Oh boy.
But
so you were doing that while you were doing Axioma.
Yeah, so that was just a couple things, just a couple like, I didn't do any recording with them.
Okay.
So it was just, literally doing a couple tours, but super fun band to play with.
Nice.
Check out Child Bite. They rule.
Okay.
I'm wearing their shirt right now.
Oh, sweet.
I'm whoring that band, whatever.
It reminds me of, what's the Infant Annihilator, Child Chewer is a song that they have. And I'm like, okay, so it kind of reminds me of.
Trying to get me to spit water on your mic.
You know the song I'm talking about? The Child Chewer.
Child Chewer.
Yeah.
I mean, I like the alliteration of that too. That's great.
Okay, so Child Bites. Okay, so you just did like a couple things there.
So I was doing a couple things there, and there was another project that has not seen the light of day that it is probably my favorite playing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
As a drummer, a lot of drummers would understand like just how things are so sterile and like overproduced these days and not to make that be a negative thing. A lot of my favorite records are like locked in the grid to Pro Tools and all sample replaced. But this record is like no click track, no sample replacement. It was a band called 6 Kills 9, and so it was actually Aaron from Axioma / Keel Hall, Dana, who also played guitar in Keel Hall, and then Sean, the singer, Child Bite, and then me on drums.
That's awesome.
And so we recorded a record probably I think we recorded it the same year that Axioma recorded Sepsis. It was a while ago. Yeah. And so the label that we've been trying to work with, that just we haven't heard anything.
Oh,
and
really?
I want this to come out because it's my favorite shit. But so hopefully that will come out at some point.
So is it tied up with the label, or can you guys put it out yourself? I mean, how is that?
I don't know, and I haven't brought it up with the guys.
Okay.
Because I would be down let's just put it on Bandcamp and just see what it does, because it's obviously it's not something where we're going to be touring and selling vinyl or anything. But I get it, because I mean, Keel Hall's fucking legendary, and so when you've got a new band Aaron and Dana from Keel Hall, I could see why they'd want to put that out on a label. And it's not to toot our own horns, but it's really good shit. Dana's super fucking creative on guitar.
Totally. Yeah. No, I was excited. I saw that, and it's almost like a extension of Keel Hall in some way, So it's like anybody that were really enjoyed Keel Hall, I would
Yeah.
imagine. I don't know, I mean,
There's, and if we do have, there is a little bit online. There is a fest. I want to say it's in Arkansas. I should know this.
yeah.
I wish I did. It's called Mutants of the Monster Fest.
Okay.
And they did a virtual Mutants of the Monster. And that was like back in 2020 or 2021 when everyone was doing the pandemic style, like playing in your bedroom and editing it together.
Right. Yeah.
There's one of those. We played on that. So there is a set from that. I think Axioma did one, and then 6 Kills 9 did one. And I think that's the only stuff we have recorded anywhere on the web.
So look it up on YouTube, 6 Kills 9.
I'll have to find it. I'll
we'll
back
put
and watch
we'll put a link in there. Yeah.
But yeah, so the Axioma thing was going, and then the Frayle thing kind of just fell in my lap, where they needed a drummer for a European tour that happened last year. They were the headliner. I mean, not playing like arenas or anything. So was doing that, and when I agreed to do that, some other stuff happened earlier where like we ended up getting a manager where it was just kind of a quick like, oh hey, there's a tour with Cradle of Filth, can you leave in 3 weeks? Like I had originally agreed to do this tour with Frayle that was supposed to take off in November. At the time that was a year out, and then management deal kind of fell into our lap. Des from Cold Chamber actually started managing us, and just gave us the, hey, we need a band open for Cradle of Filth. Tour leaves in 3 weeks. Can you do it?
Nice.
So that one, kind of fell into our lap. We did that one, and then we had that little break to kind of focus on the new record, and then did the European tour last year.
So it was a headlining European tour?
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
So that was actually the third time Frayle's been over there.
Okay.
My first time with them. So headlining tour, think of, the venues we were playing, I would consider, similar to like the Foundry.
Sure.
Like, but there were certain nights that we played. It was mostly anchored around 2 festivals that we were on.
Okay.
We played one in England called Damnation Fest, which, like At the Gates was on it this year.
Oh, nice.
It was stacked. All those festivals are always like the best.
Yeah,
lineups.
totally. Yeah.
So that was one, and then there was one in Germany called Gloomar Festival that we played, which that one was pretty interesting because it's that one and one that we played in, what is it called? Postfest in Indiana.
Okay.
I guess there's a bit of crossover from like the instrumental band kind of thing to people who are interested in Frayle as well.
Okay.
Those were like the heavy, like post-rock kind of, just a lot of like non-vocal bands.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting being nice
that is interesting. So, before we go a little further, I'd like to actually, can you give us some background on Frayle? You joined.
Absolutely. So Frayle is a band that was started by Sean and Gwen, Sean Bilovecki and Gwen Strang.
Okay.
And I should know the story a little better, but I don't think it was a pandemic thing. No, it was before the pandemic.
Okay.
Basically just started with them making like bedroom demos and like putting it on Bandcamp, and it just kind of went from there. So they both started
like a Billie Eilish kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Not quite up to that status yet, but no, so it's kind of like a heavy, slow doom. Like, if I always tell people, it's almost got like Typo Negative vibes, like just that, like if they were maybe 50% slower.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. Okay, I'd really like to get into more of this history on this band, but I wanted to say, like, listening to that, a lot of people say, they watch these like death metal drummers and they're so fast and intricate, and they're like, wow, that guy's amazing. I'm listening to that Frayle stuff, and I think it would be incredibly hard to play as slow as you're playing in some of those parts, man. Like, I don't even know what kind of time you're counting on that. You know what I mean? It's pretty ambient, I should say. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's anyone who's played an instrument before knows that like there's you're playing to a consistent track. It's not that the track is getting faster. Why does it feel like it's so much slower on stage?
Yeah.
You practice to it and it feels great in the practice room, and then you get on stage and it's like you're playing in quicksand,
Yeah.
But yeah, so actually
Well, I think it's the adrenaline. Just like if you
yeah.
didn't play to a track, everything's so much faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember playing a band, first couple shows we played, it was like, I couldn't even, like, I'm losing breath singing just because I'm singing so fast and more than normal, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Yeah. That's usually on this end of the table. It's always the drummer that does that too. It's like, oh man, look at all those people. Like, better get that hi-hat faster.
Yeah. So, but it's so playing slow like that, like you're playing to a track. I mean, what really is the tempo you're playing to though?
I mean, there's some stuff that I feel like there's one song where we're at like 58 beats a minute.
That's crazy.
So for people who don't play an instrument, like 60 beats a minute is one hit a second. Like that's pretty slow in musical standards.
Yeah.
But the secret to a lot of that is just you're playing slow, but you're thinking fast, because if you're keeping it consistent at that faster speed, those intervals are going to be consistent.
Right.
So you see me moving slow when I play, but in my head I'm like the whole time.
Well, going back to what Billy we mentioned earlier from Rock and Roll City Studios down there, he was like a fixture. It was like him and Jim Kanya. They were always down there, right?
I miss Jim.
Yeah, totally. But I think he would practice to a metronome, and he would say, just like, you practice to like a 30-second beat, or just something real, because then if you know all that, you can hit everything in between that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot to that. And that's why I asked.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I have no other thing to contribute to that. That's you put it so succinctly.
Okay, so going back to they started writing music in their kind of like in the bedroom kind of thing, whatever, and then it just kind of took off, or what?
Yeah,
they had a drummer, and
they had a drummer. They did I think they did one tour in Europe that was like their first one they did. I think it was more of a vacation, and they booked a few shows to like say it was, their reason to get over there.
Right.
And they had a different drummer then, and then they had another drummer the second time they went over to Europe.
Okay.
But there's a company they work with out there called Lay Bear Recordings that kind of handles the European stuff.
Okay.
So I think the second time they were there, that's when they hooked up and kind of started working together.
Okay.
And that's what hooked up a lot of this one.
Oh, nice.
So, but yeah, they, my buddy Jason was playing bass for them, and the drummer that they had on their last tour wasn't able to do the next one. And that's when he was kind of like, do you want to do it? And so, that's where that happened.
Nice.
So, but yeah, everything as far as that band is concerned is just it kind of 100% in-house. Like all the recordings, Sean does it all. The videos, the Bright Eyes video, all Sean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He's got the eye, got the ear.
I was gonna say it all looks pro, sounds pro, like it sounds. I mean, it all looks legit. You know what I mean? It looks like a real video.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, and I hope I'm not airing any dirty laundry. Sorry, Sean. But when we did a little run in, we were like New York and like just like a quick like week-long East Coast thing. And I feel like the whole time when he was driving, he was listening to these like filmmaker podcasts. Okay. And so like he just, is constantly, and both him and Gwen are actually do fashion too.
Oh, nice.
So they just have, kind of like every aspect covered.
Cool.
But yeah, so we did, the funny thing is, we just filmed another video, last weekend for, a cover song we did that's coming out soon. It might be out before this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, my buddy was asking me like, oh, how was the video shoot? And I'm like, it's uneventful. I'm like, it's just like when you work with people who just have that stuff on lockdown, it's like, we showed up, we set up our instruments, we played the song a few times, and he's like, okay, looks good. And that was that,
Well, Well, yeah, especially if somebody's doing the video and they have a clear vision, even if they storyboard it in their head, I've seen people do that, and if the shots you're gonna get, and
Yeah.
but you have to have that vision, like you said,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that's kind of good to have someone, because it's, I'm sure in your bands that you've played with, you always have, it's not just about, what's your skill on your instrument,
Right.
what else can you bring, When I played with Gary, Gary just made awesome merch.
Yeah.
And you have your friend in the band who records or does whatever,
Yeah. No, yeah. Gary always impressed me. I thought he was, is probably, I mean, he's still alive, right? So, I mean, it's a great artist, great singer, man. I really, really like his singing, it's kind of a shame that I don't know, that didn't pan out with something or whatever. I don't know, but
that's what happens getting old. And I'm sure there's even people who look back on, earlier stuff that, their friends did.
Yeah.
And just the we brought up Jim Kanye a second ago, I remember one of my favorite heckles he would always yell is play something off the demo. And it's well, we got a bunch of new shit too.
You're right. Yeah. No, he's great. He always knew how to get, insult somebody in the most fun way possible.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so you're doing the Frayle thing now, and so what do you guys have planned now?
So right now we're working on some new material, just getting kind of that settled. We just filmed that one video that'll be coming out shortly. I think it's a Soundgarden compilation.
Okay.
So that record's going to be coming out.
Wait, what do you mean a Soundgarden
There's it's like a tribute to Soundgarden. I think it's the 20. I'm old.
Yeah.
Is it the 20 or 30 year anniversary of Super Unknown?
Yeah.
Oh
okay.
Man, I think it's 30.
Okay.
It's got to be 30, right? That was 94, 93.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's the full record, and each one. I don't know if you heard the Nirvana one that they did with a bunch of. I think Helms Ali was on it.
Okay.
And Thou, and it's just heavy bands doing.
Oh, nice.
Soundgarden.
Yeah, I have not heard that. Okay, so you guys, which song are you guys doing?
Head Down.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
It's the song. I love the song. It came out awesome, but man, the video. I'm really pumped about the video.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you give away any or you just want to keep it a surprise? What?
The only thing I'll say about the video is it's a lot of reds.
Okay.
Red.
Okay.
Red lights. Red. Everything.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I don't want to give away too much. But so we're doing that. We've got one show coming up locally. We're playing the Foundry on June 3rd, and that's kind of helping us get acclimated to get back into it, because we're playing Incarceration.
Oh, nice.
We're on the last day.
Okay.
So the day that Slipknot headlines.
Oh, nice.
So I'm pretty stoked for that. I've never actually seen them before, so I'm hoping get to check that out.
Yeah, that'll be super cool, man.
So, but yeah, that's all we have right now. There's I know there's lots of stuff, hopefully going on, but behind the scenes that we'll be getting out. I know I want to get back out to Europe again, because that was just such a good tour.
That's cool. I wanted to actually, before we wrap this up, but I wanted to get into the you're teaching, you're educating on the drums right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what made you want to get into that? Just because you love playing drums so much? I mean, and they who is it? Richard Feynman or something? The best way to learn is to teach, kind of thing. So do you find yourself learning new things as you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's just been something I've just always been passionate about, drumming, and going back to that. When I was 16, taking lessons from my teacher Olivia, it just being able to resonate with someone on that level, and helping someone grow and find their voice. So I've had multiple students that have gone on to kind of pursue that same thing. I had one that two that have gotten music degrees. One who's a band director now.
Okay.
I have actually one of my former students is playing drums in Axioma.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, Nick was one of my students, and
It's like
he's
I'm
such
telling you,
a
it's
ripper.
this incestuous kind of circle here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean that's the thing. The older you get, the more people get out of the scene.
Yeah.
You know, it's smaller circles. But no, I've just been always, I got to study under some really great teachers when I went to college.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to spread that knowledge. And I've been super fortunate that I've been doing it since 2007. And
That's awesome.
pretty much supported myself off of that
Yeah.
ever since.
Well, I got to tell you, drummers are hard to find. You're one of the best ones that I've seen, and
I appreciate that, man.
just and having you down in the basement and seeing what you can do and the way you record, it really, I think that a lot of those were like one take kind of things, and but yeah, no.
I'm sliding you money.
Right.
I'm just out of frame.
But no, man, because I've recorded quite a few bands, and just a lot of times it's just a hassle, especially singers. My singing is probably the worst, because you're sitting in there but and it's like there's all these different things, and like drums, there's only been probably 2 drummers that I've recorded that I can say that were just effortless, and you're one of them for sure. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
And not saying I'm not any kind of big record producer or anything like that, but no, all right, dude, thanks for coming down. I just got on anything else you want to say? I mean, you said the show. I'm probably going to get this posted before that show. And when was that show? It was at the Foundry.
That's at the Foundry. That's on June 3rd.
Okay.
So we're playing with Grave the Band. I forget the other band's name, and then Beast Killer.
Okay.
I wish I knew the other band's name.
And you know how many people have done that, and they're everyone feels bad. I can like edit it and then later like in this weird voice, and you'll say it like
Stephen Hawking introducing the band.
Yeah, or that TikTok voice that you can pick or whatever. No, again, hey, thanks a lot. Appreciate you coming down, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, man. This is awesome.
Awesome, man. Frayle, that's Frayle, Fryle, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Awesome, man. All right, take care. Hey, Sub CLE, we're out.